Hello, Andrea Ross here from the Career Establishment, and welcome to Talent Tip Tuesday. Now, this is part 2. A couple of weeks ago, I did a 10-minute video on customer bias styles where I introduced you to the DISC model. Now, this is a completely different model. This is CliftonStrengths. So I am super excited to share with you a little bit more about it. You've probably all, people that are quite close to me in the recruitment community in Asia, know how much I bang on about CliftonStrengths, but it really is a great talent assessment tool that you can not only increase your own self-awareness, but you can also get an idea of how you should be adapting your style to the clients that you work with. Okay, so let's tell you a little bit more about it. I should tell you a little bit more about the history, actually. I don't think I've even put that on my slides. Now, Clifton Talent Strengths, it's by Gallup, which is a organisation based in the US. They have operations all around the world. And about 70, 80 years ago, a gentleman called John Clifton did loads of research on organisations around the world on how individuals can be at their best performance. And what he identified was pretty much 34 talent themes. And so that created a Clifton Talent Strengths Assessment. Now, it's an online assessment with Gallup. You can obtain it from the website, on the Gallup's website. If you work with a coach, it is advisable to do that, because when you get your Clifton Talent Strengths, it looks great. You can understand where your talents are across 34 talent themes, but to actually know what to do about that and apply that to high performance, to your goals at work, or even to manage others in your team, you really do need to be partnered with a coach, which I am. CliftonStrengths measures not strengths, but the presence of 34 general areas of themes. So we call them talent themes. Now, similar to a fingerprint, the sequence of a person's themes is unique to him and her. So of those 34 talent themes, you might have a talent such as analytical, or harmony, or winning others over, which is one of my favorites, because it's all about influencing others and trying to persuade and trying to, well, basically win others over. It's pretty obvious. So it's an influential, influencing theme. And so not everyone is going to have exactly the same order. So that's what I love about this particular tool, is that, look, people are complex. You're never going to know just from one instant over the phone or one meeting exactly someone's personality. You've got to kind of fish for it. You've got to ask specific questions that you can kind of test and see where they are. And especially with the talent assessment, because of 34 talent themes, you have to go into a little bit more detail with clients to really get to know you know, where their strengths are, and so then you know how to adapt to them. I'll go into that in a second. It can be purely developmental context, but it can be also used to assess the customer style. So I use talent strengths for coaching, but I also use it for training workshops in regards to organisations adapting their style to their customers. Okay, so Donald Clifton, here he is. So one of his quotes was, "What will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them?" And I just love that quote. I mean, we all know that when we grow up and we have one-on-ones with our bosses, I would say that it's just sort of a natural tendency for people in leadership positions to focus on the negatives. Well, this was great and you're doing really well, however, and actually it's a completely different philosophy. The strengths development is all about identifying identifying your top talents that sit within your top 5 and top 10 of your 34 talent themes. And their whole approach is, when you start investing, and that can be skill or practice and just pure investment on those talents. For instance, if one of my talents on my top 5 was communication, and it was unharnessed, you know, I had it as a talent, but I wasn't really practicing. I wasn't going on courses to get better at keynote speaking, or maybe I needed to project my voice differently when I was doing my podcast, or, you know, I would need to maybe get some external support on that, or really focus and invest on that talent to be even better at it. And what we find with our talents is we love them already. We already can see them in action. There's certain tasks, certain actions that we do in our life that means that we're using those. But sometimes we can have talents that we just haven't been using because we're in the wrong jobs, or we just, you know, no one's really kind of pointed them out and we didn't realize that it was unique in any way. Okay, so the 34 talents themes sit under 4 domains of team strength. Ignore the team strength, just 4 domains of strength. So it comes under executing. So if you got your report back and you had a number of talents in your top 10 that sat within executing, these are individuals that just make things happen. They get stuff done, they get their head down, they're going to say, yes, I'm going to take that on, they're going to problem solve. You know, then they're not necessarily going to say no when you ask them to do something. They're just, you know, they're going to make stuff happen, they're executing. Whereas on someone that had a number of talents within influencing, they're someone that obviously can speak up, they want to be heard, they're persuasive, and you know, whether it's communication or command, or they look at something and make it even better, or they're self-assured, or winning people over. For relationship building, it's all pretty self-explanatory there, but you might have talents that are, you know, that you are high on empathy, and so you build relationships by putting yourself into other people's shoes, or you lead with a really high positivity, and so you're invigorated, you create just a great buzz around you, and that really is great to build relationships and teamwork. Or you might have more talents in strategic thinking, where the way you make decisions, the way you think, for instance, if you were futuristic, you're looking more to the future. If your context was the opposite of that, the decisions you make are generally on, well, what did I do last time, looking at the past. So it's not to say that all your talents would sit within one of the 4 domains. You will have a mixture across them. Sometimes you only have them across 2 of them, but you will find that you will lead with a specific one. And really what the Clifton Talent Assessment is all about is just increasing that self-awareness, that you can say, oh yeah, gosh, you're right, I really do get quite distracted if people come to my desk. I'm high on focus, and when people come to my desk at work and start chatting to me about what they're doing for lunch, it really does put me off. So it's about really identifying that you're not at your best when you are distracted if you've got focus, and it might be that you need to, you know, maybe work from home for a few hours, or just say to colleagues, hey, I'm doing a search right now, I need an hour. You know, it's just being aware of that, because that's when you're at your best. So how does it work? So let's look at the positives of that. People who focus on using their strengths are 3 times likely to report having an excellent quality of life, because you're happy, you're passionate, and you know what you're good at, and are 6 times as likely to be engaged in their jobs. So whether you're a manager listening to this today, be aware of what your key team members' talents are, understand what they are. And when I say talents, not strengths, you're probably getting really confused. They're talents when we look at them if they're not really harnessed or they're not invested in. We've got to move them on a strengths journey to become strengths. So majority of the time, most people have them as talents, but they're not necessarily focused on or aiming them for, you know, 2 specific goals or situations. So adapting your style. So how are we going to use that? I mean, I would say quite a lot of HR people, especially in Asia and America, have CliftonStrengths. They've taken it. You'll see it on their qualifications. Sometimes HR are qualified as certified Gallup's coaches, like myself, or they have it on their auto signature. I have my top 5 on my auto signature. I have it on my LinkedIn. A lot of people brand their LinkedIn profile to what their strengths are, because it's a bit different than a personality model. It's saying, hey, this is who I am. You know, this is how I think. This is how I behave. This is how I feel. So you know what you're getting. So if you're in a client focused role, it's a really good idea to understand who you are and how you think, feel and behave. And really what today's about in this Talent Tip Tuesday episode is really understanding how do you adapt to your style, or how do you get to know your client better by their style. So let's sort of break it down. We know obviously this is a massive topic. I'm just going to kind of go over it briefly, but let's just say you're in a client meeting, and that client is asking, you know, we need to listen for the clues. Yeah, we need to really be attentive to what that customer is saying, doing, behaving. You know, I identify the talents in that customer, test your theory, experiment, take a risk. Now, we need to ask questions. So we might be saying to the client, you know, what is it you're most excited about this year? You know, at the start of the year, what are you really excited about? Have an idea, you know, listen to what that client says. It might be, look, we're really looking forward to the next 2-5 years. How I see that year looking is we're expecting to focus in these key priority areas. You know, then you get an idea that's probably futuristic. You know, if they're talking quite visionary, or they're looking at that 2-5 year plan, they probably have a talent theme out of 34 is maybe futuristic. You know, ideation for in terms of a talent theme is, you know, that they're constantly like bouncing up ideas. It's like having a popcorn maker, you know, and it might be that when they're asking you about the hire, they might be saying, well, okay, where would we get that person from? Talk me through that. And what other ideas have you got that you would be able to find someone? What other complementary industries could we get someone from? It's generally someone with ideation. It doesn't mean every single idea sticks, but it just means that they really get excited to be able to bounce those ideas off. Input is someone that can absorb lots of information. It could be information in books or podcasts, or it could be anything. It's any forms of information. And you might find you're getting those clues when you speak to that client, because you know, you might have a look, they might sort of mention a podcast they're listening to, or they explain to you how they tend to you know, build their business or look at their business strategy, how they collect customers themselves. It might be something where you see that input coming through. So the reason why it's important is to really get an idea of, well, how do they behave? How do they think? How do they feel? You know, if I've got someone that's really big on relationship building, they wanted to have a coffee with me, they're a story, you know, maybe they're a storyteller, so they were quite big on communication, they're probably big on influencing. But I might have someone that comes across as, look, when can I get that CV? When can I get those CVs from you? Exactly what deadline? I'm going to get going now and send you that job spec straight away. You know, you've probably got an activator talent. You've probably got someone that's or an achiever that's kind of you know, an achiever is more on the executing talent side, someone that just wants to get stuff done, yeah, make it happen, you know, tick it off the list, goal setter, yeah. So it's not as easy to identify what your client may be in the initial first meeting, absolutely not. This can do that quite quickly, but I don't think it's as accurate. You do want to know how your client's going to make decisions on the candidates that he or she are assessing. You want to know how they you know, how they're making decisions, what they look at to build, how they look at building relationships, and what they're looking from you. So it is a really good idea to understand someone's talents as well as your own, because it's a lot easier when you're dealing with people, because people are all different. And so from my own personal sort of personal experience, I think it's a way deeper model to be looking at. So I hope you enjoyed it. There's way more information on that. Please reach out if you want to know a little bit more about Clifton Strengths. I offer coaching in it individually and also for organisations. So I hope that helped. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and check out our Talent Talk Asia podcast, and rate it and review it, and stay safe out there. Take care.